As he said, tomorrow he's going to be meeting with members of the Senate, and then at some point down the road, the confirmation hearings will begin. We'll hopefully wrap up by October, but that may not be the case. Anything can happen between now and then.
Anything can happen. Joining us now, attorney Vikas Bajaj with more on President Trump's announcement. You had told us before the announcement that the smart money was on Brett Kavanaugh.
That's right. I'm not a gambling man. Maybe I should be after tonight, but I feel it was a strong message that the president sent to the United States and more importantly to the Senate. You can see that there were allusions in now potentially Justice Kavanaugh's comments of, I will meet with everybody in the Senate. I will tell them that I will uphold the law. That kind of sets the ground rules, doesn't it? To say, well, if you don't vote to confirm me, that means that you don't believe in upholding the law. And I think it's a very strong message that was sent here, not only because of Judge Kavanaugh's history and experience, which is phenomenal. We keep talking about the number, close to 300 published opinions out of the D.C. Court of Appeals. Absolutely phenomenal. His credentials on paper, phenomenal. Now, we remember in 2003, when he was going through the confirmation process, the Senate held him up and refused to confirm him because they felt he was too partisan. Eventually, in 2006, he was confirmed and has just put together an impressive encyclopedia of information.
Democrats are going to be going after him in the Senate on where he stands on Roe versus Wade. Yes. Talk about that a little bit and how he skirts that or navigates their line of questioning.
Well, originally, Roe versus Wade, it wasn't a off-the-wall decision. It wasn't one where people said, well, this is definitely coming down on the other side. So back in 1973, when that decision came down, it was hotly contested, not nearly as much on the public side because of the way we have the ability to proliferate information nowadays. But it was a contested decision. Now, Roe versus Wade, I still stand behind my statement early on regarding that case's potential in the future. This appointment and otherwise. It is almost impossible to reverse or overturn case precedent unless it supports something very serious, a woman's right to vote, African-American community or anybody who's not white Anglo-Saxon Protestants' right to vote. These are things that required overturning clearly outdated laws and rules. I don't think we have that here, and you'll see a slow curtailing and contouring of Roe versus Wade. Maybe some states will be forced to concentrate on certain timelines and durations more so than they otherwise would.
Judge Kavanaugh is a favorite of the Republican legal establishment. Talk about what are some of the other big decisions that the Supreme Court will be deciding on that he could play or have a big impact on.
Right, absolutely. We have generally in every sitting panel, we're going to have election finance and campaign finance. It's always going to be an issue. Interestingly, some courts, and especially Kavanaugh, believe that it's more deeply rooted in the First Amendment than in any other amendment. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind. I think there are significant affirmative action decisions coming down the pipeline. We don't hear about it too much, but for instance, there's an Asian American individual who's filed a very highly publicized lawsuit against Harvard University, saying I was discriminated against because I was actually overqualified and I wasn't given admission because of race-based admission policies. So we saw Kennedy had a very crucial swing vote in a recent decision looking at the University of Texas profile there for admissions policies. Now that may be under fire. I think that is a very, very interesting topic because it does expand upon the Constitution, directly contrary to what we've heard so far in originalist adoption of what the words were meant to be.
Well, we're out of time. I just want to drop this in, if I could. Chuck Schumer just tweeting now, in selecting Judge Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court, Donald Trump has put reproductive rights and freedoms and health care protections for millions of Americans on the judicial chopping block. So we're already seeing the pushback from Democrats right now. today.
And you're going to see more of it. And while we have our opinions on whether that is actually accurate or not, this is midterm election time, let's not forget. So these elected officials who are up for these elections need these really powerful media shots to push out in their campaign. So I think these are empty promises, frankly. I think at a certain extent they're insulting because it deminimizes the role of these Supreme Court justices.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tomorrow the vetting begins, I guess. The process begins in the Senate. Vic Bajaj, always great to talk to you.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Thank you.
sharing with us.